And loved ones, many of us, I think, believe that. That the greatest achievement of Jesus on Calvary was to cover our sins. That is, Jesus on Calvary bore the punishment of our sins so that now we don't need to bear that punishment and we don't need to suffer the death that other people have to suffer. Now, brothers and sisters, the Jews believed that. Even the dear old Jews had got that far. They had got as far as seeing that something miraculous had happened in the heart of God, which enabled him to continue to let them exist in his world with some kind of respite from punishment. They knew that. You remember, it's there if you would just glance at it briefly. It's Psalm 32 and verse 1 and verse 5. It's page 480 in that Revised Standard Version. And Psalm 32 and verse 1. Blessed is he whose transgression is forgiven. That's a Jew speaking. Whose sin is covered. And then in verse 5, I acknowledged my sin to thee, and I did not hide my iniquity. I said, I will confess my transgressions to the Lord. Then thou didst forgive the guilt of my sin. Now, loved ones, the Jews could experience the forgiveness of their sins, and they could experience the covering of their sin. Now, do you remember what sin is? Just that very simple definition in James 4 and 17. Whoever knows what is right to do and fails to do it, for him it is sin. That's sin. You know what's right to do, but you don't do it. That's sin. Now, the Jews were in that position, that they would often do that, and yet they believed that God had covered their sin because of his mercy. But, loved ones, many of us are in just that position. Now, if you say to me, well, what's wrong with it? What did Jesus come to do? Well, loved ones, it's in Matthew 1 and 21, and some of you will remember the verse, but those of you who don't should look at it just to see that it is black and white there. Matthew 1 and 21. Jesus didn't come to put our sins under the table and say, no, Father, it's all right. There's no sin there. Matthew 1 and 21. It's page 835. She will bear a son, and you shall call his name Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins. You remember we said the Greek word was apo, which means from, not en, which means in. The Jews knew only salvation in their sins. I'll accept you despite your sin. But Jesus came to save us from our sins. That's why he died, loved ones, to save us from our sins. In other words, Jesus can enable us to be delivered from our envy and our pride in our everyday lives. The Jews had to walk in an everyday life of sinning and forgiveness, sinning and forgiveness, sinning and forgiveness. But since Jesus died on the cross, it is possible for us here to live above sin in our everyday life. Now, that's good news for wives and good news for husbands anyway, but probably good news for all of us. That it is possible, because of Jesus' death, to live above sin.